Hi, this is Dee at Aloha Astro. Let's take a look at what we have going on with today's new moon in Cancer, June 21st, 2020. And the new moon occurred at 2:41 a.m., so early in the morning, very early morning hours. We had that new moon occur. I don't know about you, but I did have some really crazy dreams. Let's take a look at what I've written. New Moon in Cancer, Sunday, June 21st, highlights potential changes in home, family, and your psychological foundations as it joins the Sun in Cancer, conjunct the North Node in Gemini, and forms a sextile aspect to Uranus and Taurus. Cancer is a moon-ruled cardinal, boss-like water sign that seeks to nurture or be nurtured in symbiotic relationships. No matter what house this new moon takes place in within your own natal chart, the fourth house issues of home and family, and what you believe to be true about yourself and your understanding of how life works will come up. Taurus rules the second house of personal finances and self-worth. On a mundane level, you could make important decisions involving income and the needs of home and family. On a spiritual level, you may examine the beliefs formed in childhood, releasing limitations, so that you can follow the path of your own choosing. If possible, spend this emotional new moon in nature, near water or trees. And there's just so much going on that it's more than I could even write and be able to fit it into the various social media places that I post. I'm going to jump to the Sabian symbol next and read through that because it's rather profound. So let's go to this. This is Act 2, Stabilization, Scene 7, Decision. And I feel like we are sitting with decision at this new moon, especially since it's joining the lunar node, which has a big emphasis on purpose or destiny, and that node is in Gemini, which gives us the question or the choice or more than one path. So we are at a juncture and we are at a time of making a decision. And I think for some people, the shift from the more childlike energy of Gemini to the more adult parental energy of Cancer may indicate that there's an inner maturity that's going to be taking place, and perhaps a coming into parenting the self or being responsible for the self in a way that maybe you have not been before. So let's read what it has to say. For 1 degree of Cancer, that new moon is actually at 0 degrees 21 minutes, and we round up to 1 degree of Cancer. On a ship, the sailors lower an old flag and raise a new one. Keynote, a radical change of allegiance exteriorized in a symbolic act, a point of no return. And we definitely are at not just a new moon today, but we are at an eclipse. We're at the summer solstice. This is always a time of kind of sitting still and watching and adjusting to the shift of the energy. We're going from the increasing light to the decreasing light. And although you might not notice it immediately, each day the light lasts a little bit less from day to day, whereas just last month it was increasing coming up to this point. We have now reached a square, go degree angle, to the beginning of the cyclic process. This is a moment of crisis, a sharp turning point. In the zodiacal cycle, at the summer solstice, the northward motion of the sun in decimation stops. The sun rises and sets as far north of exact east and west as it can during the year cycle. Its motion is now reversed. Slowly, the sunset points move southward on the western horizon, and the length of the day decreases. In the lunation cycle, from new moon to new moon, this is the first quarter phase. On the ship, which symbolizes the ego consciousness floating, as it were, on the sea of the vast unconscious, the individualized will makes a basic decision. The dominant yang force allows the yin force to begin its 6-month-long rise to power. The collective will gradually overcome the individual, and at the end, the state will overpower the person. Now, however, the individual person enjoys his most glorious hour. He exults in his ability to make a free decision, i.e., to act as an individual who selects his life goal and his allegiance. This is the first stage in the 19th fivefold series of degree symbols. In a decisive act heavy with consequences, the symbolic college youth might realize that he should bring to an end his quest for the ideal companion and enter into matrimony. He assents to the possibility of progeny, of home responsibility. His consciousness accepts a process of fundamental reorientation, implying the stabilization of his energies. I think this word is very important, reorientation. We are going through many retrogrades at the moment. The most recent is Mercury having retrograded in the sign of Cancer. And here we have Mercury in Cancer retrograde. We have Venus retrograde right now. It comes out of retrograde on the 25th. So we have 4 more days of Venus in Gemini retrograding. We have Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn all in retrograde. We will not see Jupiter and Saturn come out of retrograde until September. So we also have Neptune going into retrograde this week in just about 2 days, 1.6 days. Lots of backwards energy. It is a time of slowing down. It's a time of rethinking, replanning, reorganizing, restructuring, considering if you're going to be changing your mind. Some people will go back to old relationships or think about people from the past due to the more personal planets of Mercury and Venus retrograding. And that is not uncommon. You may have an ex pop up, or you yourself might think about people from your past and reach out to them. Keep in mind that if you reconnect and things feel good initially, you may find that that does not last, that after these planets go direct, first Venus on the 25th of this month, and then Mercury will go direct on July the 12th. And sometimes things that are begun under the retrogrades of the faster moving planets like Mercury and Venus will fall apart once things start to go into forward motion. Now, that doesn't mean that all things that you might try to do are not going to be workable. It is very good for going over old projects. Pull out any of your old projects and improve upon them. Or if you think you've dealt with an issue and here it is again, it is likely that you may actually put that issue to rest if you deal with it now. Sometimes a retrograde is a second chance that does work to your advantage. But as always with Mercury retrograde, double check your tickets, your vehicle, your appointment time, confirm and double confirm if you have appointments that you are going to be meeting somebody at a specific place and time. Allow plenty of extra time to get to places where you have specific appointment times, because traffic patterns can change, or breakdowns, accidents can occur, not necessarily to you, but you might find roadworks going on and you're diverted and it's going to take you another 20 minutes to get to where you're going. Allow yourself plenty of time to get anywhere while we have this retrograde going on. Now, Cancer rules the 4th house of home and family, psychological foundations, traditionally the mother, and it is a moon-ruled water sign, deeply intuitive, very protective of those that it loves, particularly family members. And it is cardinal, which means boss-like, although it doesn't always seem boss-like because it's ruled by a sensitive planet and it's sensitive water. However, anybody who's ever been manipulated by their mother can definitely attest to the fact that you don't say no to mom. So there's a lot of strength in that cardinal sign. And usually the motivation for the cardinal energy is needs and being able to nurture and care for somebody else, wanting to protect somebody else. Be careful under this Cancer season that you stay in balance and you don't stifle other people from growing or making their own choices, just as you may be more aware of your own choices and how you want to nurture something in yourself and care for yourself and be able to go after your own purpose or destiny. Since this new moon is occurring with the North Node, you might want to break free of somebody else's authority or control. This quincunx here to Saturn in Aquarius at 0 degrees is pointing toward the wanting something new. And then if we look for the ruling planet of Aquarius, we find Uranus, and later in the day, if I move forward in the hours, we'll see the sextile that pops up between the moon and Uranus. So the idea of change and building your own life, possibly rebuilding it from the ground up, or going after a new purpose or plan, or perhaps moving to a new home, or maybe deciding on becoming a parent or welcoming in a new family member. The thing that stands in the way, the square energy predominantly between the moon and Mars conjunct Neptune in Pisces. And these two planets together are very much differing energies. Mars is fiery when it gets into the very diffuse and no boundaries energy of Pisces. It kind of loses some of its vitality and its force and its decisiveness. Then when we join it with the ruling planet of Pisces, Neptune, that is a planet of beauty, healing, inspiration, idealism. It is also a planet of illusion, deception, fantasy, and not seeing things clearly. So it can have good motivation for a higher reason, but the low side of Pisces energy and the low side of Neptune may be either allowing abuse or manipulation to be present, whether you're using it or somebody's using it on you, going after something that you know in reality is never going to last or work. Finding discernment, which is Virgo energy, is hard under what we have going on right now. Once we have Mars move into Aries, which I believe is at the end of this month, we're very close, we're at 26 degrees. Let's see what happens when we, yeah, there it is. So we get to the end of June and we have Mars enter Aries, and it becomes much more decisive, and it's pulled away far enough from Neptune that it's not getting drowned out. The fire is not lost. And Aries is very self-focused. It says, I am. Pisces, there is no boundaries. There's less confusion, even though we have a square here that will go on at the end of the month. You may be forced into making an empirical decision for what is best for you. And if other people get upset in the process, or if it's not to somebody else's liking, it may still be very important and necessary for you to do this for your own mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional health. You may have to take some action, make the decision in that decisive cardinal way, and do what you can to nurture yourself and go after your aims and your goals, despite any friction that there might be with somebody else. If you are in a codependent relationship where there's a lot of dysfunction, as the present square here can definitely pull up the dysfunction. Oh, no, you can't leave me, baby. I need you. What would I do without you? Then once you get to the end of the month, especially after Venus comes out of retrograde, and it's in a mutable, flexible, adaptable, undecided sign, you might get greater clarity and know what you need to do, and you might be able to either fix a situation and stand your own ground, or it may be time to move on. But in terms of career and going after what you need or want, especially on the financial level, by the time you get to the next lunation, and let's see, where do we have that moon occurring? 22 and 12. That's a good question as to what day. What day will we be having our next lunation? Let me get out my ephemeris and take a look. So in July, we've got a full moon in Capricorn at 13 degrees on the 5th. So that's the next lunation that we're looking ahead toward. And the new moon now and the eclipse is pivotal. When we have an eclipse, very often we lose sight of something and then we see things in a new way. There can be a revelation, or as the Sabian symbol says, a reorientation, and you may find a new direction. When we get to that full moon in Capricorn, we're going to be having stepping into greater power and sovereignty and claiming what you're going after now. With the full moon, we have a culmination coming up ahead, and it may tie in very strongly to things that you initiate now. So even though you are under retrogrades and it can be difficult to do new things during a retrograde, look at the things that you might need to clear up, or things from the past that you might need to heal or release or reorient yourself on, so that you can step into greater power at the full moon and gain some ground. The gaining of ground, I think, is the important thing, versus getting too lost, too confused, and then needing time out to simply recover. You want to be able to tread water right now, clear up things that are, if you were to literally fall into the water off a boat, what steps would you have to take to avoid drowning? You would probably have to immediately lose your shoes. There's certain things you would do in order to prevent yourself from drowning. And I think we're kind of at a level right now, especially society-wise. What things do we need to do, especially fixing things from the past, or fixing history, or fixing the law, or looking at our political system, to be able to get back to a place of things are running the way they should be? And there may be a lot of stuff that's going to come up that's very uncomfortable and not necessarily to people's liking, but it needs to be addressed. And of course, we're dealing with something that at the present moment, there's very little control over a pandemic virus. You can only take care of yourself. And I think that's going to be a reminder that comes up for us at the next couple of weeks when we get to the end of June and moving into July and the full moon, is having some responsibility for your own physical health and well-being through what you eat, through how you protect yourself, that you can't expect it to be coming from somewhere outside of you, and you can't expect other people to care as much as you might care about yourself. So that's what's going on in terms of planetary transits. And we've taken a look at the Sabian symbol. I am available if you want to see what's going on in your own natal chart. You can book a recording. If you want to book something live where we communicate with each other, you can hit the schedule appointment button and choose from half-hour or hour sessions. Or we have the recorded option to see what's going on for you right now. Take care, be safe, get outside and enjoy some water, some trees, be in nature to find some inner peace and help you in the decisions about changes that you will be making in the weeks coming up ahead.